People who just up and left one day and started a new life. What was your experience like? I did this a year and a half ago. Best thing I've ever done. Moved from Western New York to Arizona. It was tough at first with trying to get on my feet, and when I did, the pandemic started. But it's easier to do than most people think. I believe most people don't do it because of the unknown and scared of change. For me, I'm happier than I've ever been. I have a really good paying job. The best paying job I've ever had actually. And the first job I've ever had that I enjoy going to. I'm 34, so that's saying something. And to live where I live, views of mountains, beautiful weather, it's just a dream come true. I did this last year. Granted, I stayed in the same state. It was terrifying and exciting all rolled into one. I quit my job without having another one. Sold my house without having a home. Packed everything my son and I owned and moved 3 hours away. Best decision ever. It made me feel like I could do it again if I ever wanted to. The world is so big, so it was empowering. Edit. I grew up in the country, lived in the same county for 31 years, and moved to the city 3 hours away. May not seem like much, but it was a huge change. A year ago me and my partner were addicted to drugs, living in a little room, depressed with no motivation, so we just up and left. Today we are in our own place in the country with steady jobs and I have never been happier. Edit. Thank you all so much for your kind comments. I just can't stop smiling. You are beautiful people. And yes, we are clean D. Sold everything and got on a Greyhound with my 2 little kids and went across country to a big city I had visited once and loved. We've been here 11 years now. Have never regretted making this our home. It was very hard. We have struggled so much, but the decent life we have now made it worthwhile. I walked out on my abusive ex while he was in Central booking with a single suitcase and a bunch of cats in carriers, took an Uber 5 hours north, and totally started over. New name, new, cleaned, birthday, new hair color. It was the most liberating experience of my life, and, even though I still suffer residual effects from old injuries, being free of that bastard is a million reasons to be happy. Edit. Thanks for the gold, guys. You just made my day. 3 years ago. USA to Japan. Got a visa through a teaching company, but they completely changed plans on me as soon as I arrived. I told them that I was assured before leaving that I'd be living in a particular place and would not be happy in place B. I politely declined. Took all my money, about $3,000, and went about searching for something else. After blowing almost all my money, I eventually met someone amazing who helped me get in the right direction. Eventually I was offered a job after many applications and interviews, but didn't even have a place to live, was living in a capsule hotel. After securing the job, I spent the rest of my money and maximumed out my credit card on an apartment. It was a gamble, but I never had failure in my mind. I spent the first month sleeping on my clothes until I had enough for a futon, then a bed. That amazing person who helped me and encouraged me to keep searching never stopped either, and is now my beautiful pregnant wife. I don't think I can win the lottery again. Or 3-day bus ride from Illinois to New York. I was so tired when I got there. I didn't see my future wife for almost an hour and felt that she got cold feet seeing as we had never met. We met, went to one of her friend's house, and got to know each other, and wound up making out on her couch 20+ years and 3 kids later. I haven't regretted a single day. I saved money throughout college years and moved out of the abusive home right after I graduated. Cut all contact. It's been decades since. In 2019, at barely 80 pounds and with a full-blown prescription drug addiction, I decided to stop showing up to a job I had been working for over a decade. With no plan B, I traveled to New Zealand, got sober, then France, got engaged, Italy, Alaska, got married, and then the Maldives. I'm living in the US and have a quiet and stress-free 9 to 5, run an Etsy shop as a hobby that has been doing pretty well, and have been sober for 1 year and 1 month. I moved from Colorado to Oregon 1.5 years ago, partially to end my 5-year abusive relationship, and mostly to simply experience another state and to try to not feel stuck with depression and life in general. Though I got booted from my dream apartment in Eugene due to needed renovations, I now have more income to put towards my dream of tattoo school, hopefully this spring. COVID restrictions, and am living with my amazing boyfriend of 7 months. I'm in a metal band and never would have dreamed of pushing my boundaries like this 2 years ago, or of someone who treats me the way my current guy does. Life uprooting? I recommend it. Edit. Thank you for my first award, D. Geez, after reading some of these comments, this is exactly what I did. I was 24, wasted college getting a degree I've never used, working a dead-end grocery store job, and living with my parents. Started dating this 30-year-old woman with a 9-year-old kid, which was nuts to me even now. After dating for maybe only 6 months or so, she told me she was moving to US for a job and she'd like me to go with her. Taking a look at my life currently, I decided to say yes, and here I'm 15 years later. We are married with 2 of our own kids, careers, and home ownership. Some rough parts at times, sure, but I wouldn't change a thing, except maybe trying to meet her a little sooner in life. I left a small Midwest town to move to Vancouver, and it was the best decision I could have ever made. The only downside is how expensive this city is. I know at some point I'll need to move out if I ever want to own my own property. That said, I never thought I'd ever feel home somewhere, but after my first visit I was hooked and knew I needed to get back. I'm working on citizenship now, and I'm hoping I'll be able to live in this province for the remainder of my life. One-way flight to Alaska. This is a dream of mine to do. I suppose I did too. My best friend and I boarded a plane to Australia from the UK the day of our final exams at university. I live in Aus still 7 years later, with the love of my life, 2 dogs and a thriving career. Can I add a slight script flip for anyone motivated by this thread? My brother did this, and I'm so proud of him. But if you join the armed services on a whim, let your family know. He is doing awesome after 2 tours in the Navy and a few years out now, but our mom was going nuts trying to find him when he belatedly realized he wouldn't be able to contact anyone from boot camp. I picked up and left for New York City. Then I picked up and left 2 more times before I finally returned to my hometown. It was nice to experience living in different cities, but I wasn't home in any of those places. Now I appreciate my hometown. I have always wished to do this. Just disappear off of the face of Earth. DEDE. Obligatory. This isn't about me. When my mom was younger and first moved to America, she had a roommate that did this. When she knew him, he was this chill, funny, laid-back stoner guy. They were also both fairly poor. But apparently this guy came from a super rich family. He used to be this preppy academic guy. He was in this fraternity at the huge state university he went to, and that fraternity sold tons of cocaine. Eventually, the police got a tip that the frat was dealing coke. They came to search it. The problem was, the warrant the police had didn't permit them to go in the personal bedrooms in the frat, so after finding nothing they left to get a warrant to search more thoroughly. This was fortunate, because right behind those doors, cocaine was being packaged and weighed and whatnot. Anyways, as soon as the police leave, the roommate packs a small bag and just fucking leaves. He just walks out and leaves his whole preppy life behind. He didn't talk to anyone there. He didn't finish school there. As far as those people know, he disappeared. That's the story of my mom's former roommate. He also did some other stuff, but that's not relevant. I got a job in a new city a couple hours away from where I was living. My wife, 2-year-old son, and I had a week and a half to find a place to live, pack, move, and get settled before I had to start the new job. When we moved here I knew the name of the guy that had hired me and that's it. We knew no one else. We'd been to the city a handful of times on day trips but that's it. So we basically knew where the main mall and a separate shopping area was. What was the experience like? Awesome. I'd totally do it all over again without even thinking about it. It's something I would recommend everyone do at least once their life, even if they move back. Moving to a new town is getting a fresh start on your life. You don't know anyone and nobody knows you. You get to make yourself out, to be whoever you want to be. You aren't hit with bad memories every time you drive by that one place, because you have no memories at all of anywhere around you. I just did it partially a couple months ago. I only went to the next state, and I still have the same job, but I left everything else I knew behind. Some days I have regrets, others I'm loving the liberation. It's mostly the former, until I get a bit more security.